is a parliamentary democracy. Its system of government holds that the law is the supreme authority. Canada has the Constitution, which is the law that describes the governance in the country. It describes the roles that each branch of the government should play in order to serve the public. There are 3 levels of government: the federal, provincial, and local. Although both the federal and provincial governments share the same 3 branches, for the purpose of this presentation, we will focus on the 3 branches of the federal level of government. The 3 branches that make up the federal system include the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. Each branch of government is composed of individuals who serve the various groups within the country and act to the best interest of all Canadians. As a constitutional monarchy, Queen Elizabeth II is the formal head of the state. She is represented by the Governor-General, who is both a member of the legislative and the executive branches. The executive branch is composed of the Governor-General, the Prime Minister, and the Ministry or the Cabinet. The Prime Minister is appointed by the majority group. The Ministry or the 39 current members of Cabinet are appointed by the Prime Minister and is representative of the various departments of government that affect the way of lives of all Canadians. The Prime Minister, together with his Cabinet, implements or puts into action the law that is approved by the legislative body. This group also runs the day-to-day business of the government. The legislative branch is composed of the Governor-General, the House of Commons, and the Senate. The Governor-General is the Queen's representative to Canada, and his royal assent is required before a bill becomes law. The House of Commons, or the lower house, is composed of 308 MPs, or members of Parliament, representing the different constituents in Canada. The number of constituents is dependent on population and is determined by Elections Canada. The MPs are from different political parties and are elected by Canadian citizens who are 18 years old and older. Canada adopts the first-past-the-post concept of election, wherein if more than 50% of the total constituents who belong to the same political party are elected, then they can choose the Prime Minister, who will be head of Canada's government. They become the majority party. The Senate, or the upper house, is composed of 105 senators who represent the perspective and interests of the regions of Canada in government. Unlike the MPs, or members of Parliament, they are formally appointed by the Governor-General upon recommendation by the Prime Minister. They make sure that all voices are heard. They act as the second set of eyes and work independently, but hand in hand with the House of Commons in reviewing, approving or rejecting, and or proposing amendments to the bills passed and ensure that the bill, before becoming law, is representative of the best interest of all Canadians. The Judicial Branch is composed of the Supreme Court, the Federal Court, and the superior courts of the provinces. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the land and is composed of 9 judges who interpret the law in accordance with the Constitution and the Charters of Rights and Freedoms. When a position becomes vacant, a new judge is appointed by the Prime Minister. The number of judges is always an odd number to prevent a tied decision. They ensure that a piece of legislation meant for peace, order, and good government serve the interest of all Canadians, and not just a particular group of people. Enter the lobbyists who try and influence the government to make decisions on matters that, for the most part, only applies to a specific group of people who share the same interest or perspective. Lobbyists are a group of individuals or businesses who are experts in their fields, and are paid by a particular political party to pursue what they think will serve the best interest of Canadians. through the political inclination and platform of the party they represent. They make use of the media to ensure that the message they are sending the government are communicated to the people as well. Most of these kinds of groups utilizes the media with the use of a little bit of bias in terms of how information is presented to Canadians. However, responsible reporting by media allow businesses to dig deeper in order to unravel the truth behind every ad or slogan created to make the public believe or be made aware of a particular issue. An example of how the different branches of the federal system, along with the lobbyists and media groups, is the current C-41 Act, which is the Canada-Korea Free Trade Agreement proposed on October 2013. This act was sponsored by the Minister of International Trade, who is part of the Cabinet and Executive Branch. The Act's description of its benefit to the Canadian government states that next to China and Japan, Korea is Canada's 7th largest trading partner in terms of industrial, electronics, agricultural exports. What this act will do is to lower the tariffs that Korea charges on Canadian exports. With this reduction, Canada's export business will increase by 32%. The act was signed and became bill on September 22, 2014. This was presented to the House of Commons. The House of Commons did the first reading on September 23, 2014. The second reading was done on September 24, 2014. After the second reading, this will be reviewed and presented to the Senate for a third reading before it gets approved. In the meantime, the details of the agreement are available on the international trade site of the Government of Canada to make people and businesses aware of this initiative. This will give the lobbyists and the media ample time before this bill becomes law to dissect the agreement, to point out advantages and disadvantages, how this initiative can favorably or unfavorably affect the country's export business. Upon reaching a consensus, the bill will be presented to the Governor General who, for formality's sake, will affix his royal assent so this bill becomes law. When the law is passed, the executive branch, particularly the Prime Minister and the Minister for International Trade, will further communicate, negotiate, enhance the details of this agreement. Now the Supreme Court, once it's passed as law, will deliberate and ensure Canadians benefit from this agreement. Grade 9 student in South Edmonton in the province of Alberta, some of the aspects of my daily life, from what I eat in the morning, to how safe my walk to and from school is, to the Catholic school system that I go to, can be affected by how each level and branch of government decide on things that matter to Canadians.